deeply appreciative of the opportunity to speak with you all today, and to Amy for inviting me. I don't recall having Veterans Day observances when I was here, and I'm so grateful to everyone involved in putting on this event to help us reflect on what service really means. Being here is also special for another reason. My parents are here today. Ken and Ann Howard, so Benedictine class of 72 and St. Gertrude class of 71. They actually met at the Benedictine gym in the fall of 1970 and just celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary. So my father's father, Robert Howard, and my mother's father, James Kelly, and her stepfather, Roby Estes, all served in World War II. 2 in the Army and 1 in the Navy. One of them was part of the D-Day invasion. It was not talked about much, but I heard bits and pieces about their service growing up, especially late in my step-grandfather's life, where he would get emotional remembering about landing on the beaches of Normandy. Even 60 years later, he could vividly describe where he sought cover from the heavy machine gun fire on Omaha Beach. I also felt a sense of the quiet pride that our whole family carried for their service. I think that pride, more than anything else, really planted a seed in me, and it was no doubt one of the reasons that I chose to serve too. When I was here at St. Gertrude, I initially thought that I wanted to be a lawyer, and this was likely due to watching courtroom dramas that featured powerful women who had their stuff together. And I liked the idea of making a difference, and I liked challenges. And I think deep down, I just wanted to prove, mainly to myself, that I was good enough. And that idea, the idea of being good enough, is what led me to the United States Military Academy at West Point. It started at a career day at Benedictine. Someone came from Benedictine to talk about the service academies, West Point, Annapolis, the Air Force Academy, and they talked about leadership and purpose and service. But the thing that caught my attention was when the gentleman said, "It's one of the hardest things that you can do." And I knew many of my fellow cadets at Benedictine were applying to the service academies, as well as the Citadel and BMI. In 1997, the first woman, single, entered BMI, which received a lot of press coverage in the local paper. And that same year, G.I. Jane came out, the movie with Demi Moore that showed just how grueling military training could be. And something in me lit up when I heard this faculty member speak, and I thought, like, all right, like I can do hard things, which, side note, one of my favorite podcasts now. So I applied, and a few months later, I went from wearing a plaid skirt to camouflage, and from an all-girls school to nearly an all-boys school. I competed for and received an appointment from then-Senator John Warner, once husband of Elizabeth Taylor, the actress recently featured on the latest Taylor Swift album. And I entered just a few weeks after graduating from St. Gertrude. And let me tell you, nothing humbles you faster than being yelled at by a 19-year-old in a buzz cut while you were trying to eat breakfast in 90 seconds flat. West Point is beautiful and it's historic, and it's also designed to break you down, to build you up in their model, to build you into leaders of character, who stay calm under pressure, and who take care of others when it matters the most. As one of the few women there at the time, around 10% of the Corps, it was not easy, and I likely made it harder on myself by trying to stay me and do it my way at times versus just playing the game. But I learned something that shaped me forever, and that was you don't have to fit in to belong. You just have to keep showing up and doing good work and take care of your people. I graduated near the top of my class in 2002, just 9 months after 9/11. The day those planes took down the Twin Towers, crashed into the Pentagon, and landed in a field in Pennsylvania, our professors told us to prepare for war. And a year and a half after graduation, I was in Iraq, the first of 2 deployments there. Although I personally had no desire to be on the front lines, in an age of asymmetrical warfare, there was often little distinction. During my second deployment in Baghdad during the surge, the home that I lived in was hit by a rocket, and my eardrum was blown out. And now this is a very, very minor injury compared with the death and destruction that we were surrounded by at the time. But it shook me deeply. And during that time and in the years after, I really doubled down on my yoga practice and exploring integrative health and seeking out ways to recover from trauma. And in many ways, I'm still searching. During the global war on terror, roughly 2001 to 2021, 7,000 service members were killed and more than 53,000 were wounded. This includes 166 women killed in action and more than 1,000 women wounded. I lost many classmates and fellow soldiers whose names I still carry with me. They died serving a country that they loved, not because they agreed with every policy or decision, but because they believed in something deeper, the idea of duty, honor, and country. This motto from Douglas MacArthur was ingrained in us at West Point. It's about serving something higher than yourself. It's about standing up for values that endure, even when circumstances change. It's about believing that courage and character still matter, and that how we serve others is just as important as what we achieve. Those who gave their lives didn't do it for the glory. I think they actually did it out of love. Love for the brothers and sisters beside them, for their families back home, and for the ideals that this country aspires to live up to. And that kind of love is powerful, and it's humbling, and it's something I think we can all learn from, whether we wear a uniform or not. On November 2nd, 2003, a soldier in my company, Specialist Frances Vega, died in Iraq when the Chinook helicopter she was in was shot down over Fallujah in western Iraq. She was just 20 years old. As a 23-year-old second lieutenant, I was the one to deliver the casualty notification to her young husband, a soldier who was preparing to deploy as well. I was also the one to deliver her eulogy at Fort Hood, Texas. Specialist Vega had a vibrant personality. She was always laughing and making jokes, and she had a beautiful singing voice. She was deployed to Iraq at the beginning of the war as part of the 151st Postal Company, helping to ensure that soldiers got their mail. I wanted you to know her name because names matter. Service isn't an abstract idea, it's someone's life and someone's family member and someone's future and someone's story. And Specialist Frances Vega reminds me, and I hope reminds you, that women too have served with strength and grace and conviction on the front lines in service to our country. As I mentioned, when I entered West Point in 1998, we were a small fraction of the Corps. And we were, and to an extent still are, proving that we belong. The standards were the same, the expectations were high, and the scrutiny was constant. We had to work twice as hard to be heard or to be taken seriously. And I think it takes courage to keep showing up in places that act like they don't always know what to do with you or don't want you there. Over the 27 years that I've served, I've watched the role of women in the military evolve in ways that once felt impossible. The big turning point came in 2015 when the Secretary of Defense announced that all military occupations, including combat arms, would be open to women without exception. And this meant infantry and armor and artillery and even special operations. Since then, women have led combat patrols, graduated from Ranger School, and flown combat aircraft. None of this happened overnight. It happened because last year, several senior female leaders in the armed services, women who had risen to the very top of their fields, have been removed or retired. And whether or not each case has some justification isn't the point. The point is, when experienced women leaders disappear from the highest ranks, it matters. It matters because visibility matters. When young women see leaders who look like them, they start to imagine what's possible. And when those leaders are suddenly gone, it can shake that sense of possibility. So we need to remember that progress in any field needs advocates. It needs people who keep showing up, who speak when something doesn't feel right, who mentor others, and who serve with integrity even when the path gets bumpy. After 10 years on active duty, including 6 years working for the head generals in Iraq and at the Pentagon, I decided to focus full-time on integrative health and switch to the Army Reserves to give myself time to heal and reflect and figure out who I was outside the uniform. My passion for helping the mind and body heal from stress and trauma led me to the Department of Veterans Affairs, the VA, where I helped build and lead the VA's whole health program from scratch. We trained hundreds of thousands of clinicians and coaches and leaders to care for veterans as whole people, to ask what matters to you versus what's the matter with you. For that decade, I worked to shift how the VA approached healing, helping veterans rediscover meaning and purpose, and empowering and equipping them to take charge of their own lives and their own well-being. Alongside this work, I kept serving in the Army Reserves, which is why I'm still in uniform today. And although my work is now part-time, in recent years I've had the privilege of developing and leading a program called Team RM, Tactical Mobility, Active Recovery, and Mindfulness. It's the Army's Yoga and Mindful initiative designed to help soldiers improve their physical mobility, recover from intense training, and manage their stress through breath work and mental resilience practices and mindful movement. I train leaders to teach these tools within their units because when soldiers understand their bodies, their nervous systems, and their stress responses, they perform better and they make better decisions and they stay healthier. And seeing soldiers who, like many, were skeptical at first, experience the calm that comes from slowing down and breathing with awareness has been one of the most meaningful parts of my whole military career. It's a reminder that strength isn't always about pushing harder. It's about learning how to release and reset and restore. For the past almost 4 years now, I've brought the whole health work that we created at the VA to UHP. It's a veterans organization in Northwest Arkansas where we help transitioning service members from all over the country find their purpose after service, find their next mission in life by becoming health coaches and nutrition coaches and personal trainers. We've graduated thousands of veterans who are now out in the world helping others live better lives. I've seen men and women who once struggled to transition finding a renewed sense of belonging, realizing that service doesn't end when you hang up the uniform, it just changes form. Watching veterans reclaim their strength, rebuild their confidence, and turn around and lift up others reminds me every day that healing and leadership are deeply connected. I previously shared the statistics of the number of service members killed or wounded in action during the 20 years that shaped the beginning of the century. But there's another set of numbers that weighs just as heavily, and these are the ones that we don't always talk about. Since 9/11, more than 30,000 veterans have died by suicide, more than 4 times the number killed in combat. And these numbers aren't just statistics. These are people who served with honor and who carried the invisible wounds that are often harder to heal than the physical ones. And this is part of why I've dedicated so much of my career to helping veterans rebuild a sense of purpose and connection and well-being. Because while the service doesn't end when you take off the of service requires community, and remembering these lives, all of them, is part of our duty here too. I want to pause and recognize the women veterans here today. If you're a woman veteran, will you please stand up? So Rear Admiral Allie Casilla Leslie, alumna of the class of 1981, is the highest ranking woman in the military to have attended St. Gertrude. And she's here today, and she has had a long and distinguished career of service in the Navy, attending the Naval Academy, and at the highest levels of government. And I just want to thank you for your service, Admiral Leslie. St. Gertrude also has at least 3 alumna currently serving: Madison Schmidt and Rachel Zachweha, both class of 2017, and Mary Claire Curtin, class of 2012. Other SGHS veteran alums include Kaylee Hill, class of 2010, Jurdice Dixon, class of 99, Kelly Miller Stewart, my personal hero when I was here, class of 1995, Sherry Barrett Bratner, class of 1984, Brant Kinder, class of 1982, Lulu Lamb, class of 77, Claire Patterson, class of 76, Beverly Brennan, class of 1970, Joan Kolinek and Catherine Swindle, both class of 1967, and Rose Yancey Taylor, class of 1961. These women, and every woman who serves, whether it is in uniform or in fields like medicine or education or business or in her family, is helping to redefine what strength and leadership looks like. If there's one lesson I carried from West Point to arrive to UHP, it's this: leadership is not about rank. It isn't about being the loudest voice. It is about responsibility. It's about seeing people, really seeing them, and helping them rise. It's about taking care of yourself so that you can keep showing up for others. It's about integrity and empathy. And it's about remembering that the most powerful form of service is helping others find their own sense of purpose. So to the young women sitting here today, you are already enough. You don't need to prove your worth by trying to be perfect or doing something extraordinary. But when life gives you a challenge, something that scares you a little, take the initiative. That's where you discover who you really are. And so whether your path leads you into medicine or education or the arts or the military or motherhood, remember, service takes many forms. The world needs your compassion and your creativity and your leadership. And if you ever wonder if you can do hard things, you can. You totally can. My 2 daughters, Kate and Rowan, are here today. They're 9 and almost 7. When I look at them, I'm reminded why all of this matters. I want them to grow up knowing that women can serve and lead and thrive, that they can be strong and gentle, ambitious and kind, all at once. I want them to grow up in a country that's free because we have people willing to protect and preserve our freedom. I want them to know that courage doesn't mean you're never afraid, it just means doing it anyway. And more than anything, I hope when they see me, a mom, a soldier, a coach, a teacher, they see possibility. And I hope you see that too. My generation served through conflict and rebuilding in other nations. Maybe your generation will serve through healing, through innovation and compassion, and through connection with others. Every Veterans Day, I think about my comrades who didn't make it home. I think about their families and their legacies, and the laughter that still echoes in old photos and memories. So as we honor them today, may we do it not just with the ceremony, but by living lives worthy of their sacrifice, with purpose and compassion and courage. I believe they want this, that we live fully, that we find meaning in our lives, and that we take care of each other. Thank you for letting me share my story, and for honoring all of those who have served in every way that they serve. Happy Veterans Day.
You got me, Kelly. It was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Another round of applause. So it occurred to me, and I'll probably cry again, but I had the honor of knowing Kelly as a freshman at St. Gertrude. I was a senior, she was a freshman. Much as I got to know each of you as you were a freshman at St. Gertrude, and I can attest that she came in just like all of us did, and she chose the path of doing hard things for service, and you absolutely can too.